Welcome to today's episode, the podcast where we discuss the most recent installments of a different series every show. It is Friday, November 21st. The day is finally here. It is World Television Day. And how are we going to celebrate it? We're going to talk about I Love LA because LA is where most television, I don't even think this is true anymore, but where most television is made.
It's usually that or New York.
Vancouver. Anywhere else in the world, is a half-hour comedy series with a codependent friend group navigating the life and lure of internet fame in Los Angeles. The ensemble cast includes Rachel Sennott. She's the show creator. She plays Maia, a 27-year-old aspiring talent manager. There's Odessa A'zion, who you might recognize from Grand Army as Maia's energetic influencer friend Tallulah. Do you remember where Grand Army took place?
No.
It was a very New York Central show.
Yeah, right, because it took place at like a New York high school.
Right, and exactly, a high school where they were doing like some sort of play. I think it was based on something called like Slut. And so
And then there was like a bomb threat. Yeah, that was like 2020, I think.
Yeah, so she's been around, but she actually made the move from New York to LA like she does in this show, like Tallulah does. And True Whitaker's there. She's a Nepo famous friend, Alani. Do you want to guess who her dad is?
Well, I know it's Forrest Whitaker.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
So do you know Forrest Whitaker's, all his kids' names?
I only knew True Whitaker because I saw her in the cast.
His kids' names are True, Ocean, Sonnet, and Autumn. He's got a very interesting choice of names, and it's cool. And then Jordan Firstman as stylist Charlie.
Right.
So
one of the things I liked was that I recognized the cast, but they aren't A-listers, which I think makes it even better.
What do you call Josh Hutcherson?
I'd say Josh Hutcherson is very high on the B-list scale, but they're all B-list. The biggest name, I think, is probably Leighton Meester, and she is like...
You say Leighton, not Leighton?
Leighton Meester, I've always just like kind of alternated between the two.
Is that like your LA accent coming out? You've never been to LA?
No, I haven't, but I've been to California before.
Okay.
But she's playing kind of the A-list role. Then you also have people like Josh Brenner from Silicon Valley. He
does make an appearance.
Yeah, and then Iowa Dabiri shows up in the second episode as well.
Was it only the second episode, not the third?
I only saw her in the second.
Do you remember
episode.
BoJack, where they had the dolphin who was like a teen pop star?
Yeah.
That's what, from just reading about Iowa Dabiri's character, she sounded like, because she was just bedazzled like crazy, right? And then is she the one who goes after Tallulah? Is she the one who gets mad at Tallulah?
That's Paulina.
That's someone else.
Yeah.
But they're all like kind of internet famous, but she's a pop star.
Yes, that's and again, that's the second episode. I think Jordan Firstman was probably the funniest character. He's given the best lines, which is very different than how I feel about the English teacher, because although I like the English teacher TV show, he was probably my least favorite character there. Josh Hutcherson, I feel the same way I do as him, like with Daniel Radcliffe, where Daniel Radcliffe, whenever he's in comedies, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Miracle Workers, Weird Al, they've mastered being likable no matter who they are. And that's why he's probably my favorite character out of the whole show.
It does feel like he's taking a more sane character here than he normally does, especially with Five Nights at Freddy's. Like the second one is coming out.
Yeah, I think it's coming out in December.
In like a week. So are you going to go see that too?
I wasn't a big fan of it, but I always like his acting.
The first one?
Yeah, the first one. And
so Brian Jordan Alvarez, you already brought up, English teacher. Mm-hmm. He got prominent from some viral videos on Instagram and TikTok. Remember, he would like put out those weird filtered videos of the singing dude, right? And Rachel Sennott got famous sort of in a similar way, where she had been acting and stuff on the side, but like her real big break came in like 2019. She was a New York native, and then she put out this video that went viral on TikTok where she was just pretending to be from LA and talking about how everybody was on drugs and partying the whole time. And it was only like 15 seconds. And so
she got Bodies off of that?
Actually, I think she just auditioned for Bodies and got the part there, but she got Bottoms from her work beforehand, and that was with Iowa Dabiri. So that's where they became
where the
friends.
Connection comes in.
And Marshawn Lynch was also in that. Marshawn Lynch hasn't shown up in this, right?
Not yet, but I know that just from the trailer that HBO Max keeps showing, there's supposed to be some stars. But Bodies, I brought up because that was the first time I saw her. It was a very memorable experience for me because back in like August of 2022, I was in Alaska. I was visiting a friend, and then he had to work during the day, so I decided I was going to go see a movie. And there was only one movie theater around in Juneau, and they were playing this one film, one showtime. So I went to it. It was the strangest movie theater I had ever been to, because it wasn't normal. There wasn't, like, cushioned seats. There was, like, lawn chairs and a couch and
So I
rocking
think if you've ever
chairs.
grown up in, like, a small town, this is actually
Yeah.
pretty normal.
No, this is exactly that way because the concession stand wasn't even a concession stand, it was a kitchen. They didn't have a butter machine. The guy who was running the showing just put a stick of butter in the pan, and you had to use the butter that way for popcorn.
Right.
And then throughout the film, he did this, like, 7 or 8
Do you wanna give a
times.
plug? Do you wanna name the place?
I don't remember what it
Oh,
was
okay.
called, but throughout the film, I remember the guy, he got up like 7 or 8 times, and while watching the movie, he would always leave, and then I would see the volume bar go up or down depending on what scene it was.
Uh-huh, so you basically just went to someone's house for a movie.
It seemed like
Right,
it.
and so what did you think of Rachel Sennott in
I
the
liked
role?
Bodies, Bodies, Bodies a lot. I thought that it was a great film, and
Did she survive?
No, you don't remember the movie?
I remember most of them die. Spoilers. But yeah, so she decides that she's gonna do that, and then this sort of humor and that sort of humor, is it at all similar? They are
Yeah.
very catty with each other in that movie. It feels like they're kind of,
Well, they're very rich too, or at least they, like, kind of like the rich life. In fact, I think it's either Pete Davidson or Lee Pace in that movie that, like, has a huge following, right? Almost like, Tallulah in this, or Tallulah, yeah.
Okay. Tallulah is more, I would say, like Vinny from Entourage, where her acting career has taken off, or her, like, influencer career
Yes.
has taken off. And she doesn't really seem like she does all that much to, like, she's not a tryhard or anything. Like, she
No.
just kind of just effortlessly gets all this stuff handed to
We
her.
see that in the first episode, like, they're trying really hard to get into a nightclub, and then she just meets the manager and is able to waltz in. She even got, like, a big suite room at a hotel, just by being able to kind of be very charismatic with the people there.
My
Yeah.
thing is, like, I think that this is really a question whether or not you enjoy the show is how much tolerance you have for self-absorbed characters.
Yes.
So, like,
Right.
for English teacher, his whole vibe, like, all the characters surrounding him, they're all supposed to be kind of dumb, and they're all supposed to be, like, selfish in a way.
Yep.
But in the end, you know that they do care about the kids that they're teaching, and it's also sending, like, a positive message as far as, like, just a progressive idea of where we should go as a culture and how people should be more accepting of everybody. This, it feels like there really isn't that. Like, it's absent, and that's why people have compared it to Girls from, like, way earlier, or
Yeah, the other
Insecure,
HBO show.
where, like, it's kinda just people being dicks to one another. And I guess if you look really deep inside, that they're all friends. But do you really think that this group wouldn't betray each other for, like, a tiny
Oh,
win?
they would definitely stab each other in the back. That's the reason why Dylan was my favorite character, because Josh Hutcherson, yeah, he actually is a teacher, ironically enough.
He's a Spanish elementary teacher
Right,
or something like
and
that?
he doesn't really have, like, any faults to him,
He's
so
not
I
part of
think.
the hype house.
Yeah, right, and Maia also, her goal is that she wants to be, she wants to get a promotion because she works for, like, she's an assistant at a social media marketing firm, so she's a good character as well, but you're right, when it comes
When
to,
you say
like.
she's a good character, though, I feel like she's the one who's going to be falling the furthest, like, turning the most evil, being the most heel by the
I
end.
don't know, it's strange because, like, Tallulah, she just makes Maya's life hard because by the end of the first
She's
episode.
like the devil on her shoulder.
Yeah, and she's, like, even doing things, like, in the second episode, like, masturbating on Dylan and Maya's bed, even
Wow.
when Dylan comes home. Yeah, I mean, like, and then Charlie.
Is that, like, explicit, or is it just, like, shown from
It's phone sex. Yeah, you don't see
don't see
anything.
anything.
There is some nudity in the TV show, but then also you have Charlie. Charlie is just kind of mean to everyone. That's the guy from The English Teacher. Again, he's given the funniest lines. He's a gay stylist, but
Mhm.
also, yeah, like, there. I think it's the third episode where he goes into a coffee shop, and because he's not being able to cut the line, he starts talking to everyone in line about how he had sex with, like, the barista that's working there.
So what do you think the point is? Like, do you think that Rachel Sennott is doing this as a complete satire, like, fuck LA? Or is it one of those ones where she's embracing it?
I think that it's, I know it's kind of a cop-out answer to say a bit of both, but I feel like you don't make a show called I Love LA without actually loving it.
Huh?
But it's just like, I mean, the characters themselves, even Alani, who's VP of Creative Projects, I do like how meta her character is with, like, the famous dad and everything, but even she's not really that likable, so it seems like it's almost making fun of the personalities, but maybe paying homage to, like, the actual place itself. That would be the way that I would describe it, at least.
Not just the place, but also the timing wise. Like, this is supposed to be a very now series. It's like
Yeah.
post pandemic. In fact, they had a different original title. I want to see if you can guess what it is.
Okay.
It was either The Rizzers Slaying in LA, Climbers, or Haven't You Heard?
Slain in LA, I think is
It is
my
not
answer.
Slain in
It's not
LA.
Slain in
No
LA?
way.
Well, there's no way it's the RZRs.
It's the RZRs.
Oh,
No, it's Climbers, Social Climbers, like
Social
that. The
Climbers.
thing though that like strikes me. Okay, so she's 30 years old. She says she's on the cusp between millennial and Gen Z.
She's 27.
She's 27 in the show.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
She started making it, I think, when she was in her 20s. So yeah, the cast is actually like a wide range because I think Odessa A'zion is like 25, and then Firstman is like late 30s.
Yeah.
And then Josh Hutcherson is like earlier 30s.
Obviously, Leighton Meester is probably in her late 30s.
She plays the girl boss. She's like in charge of everything. But like, yeah, it's kind of stretching despite the fact that they're all supposed to be like in their mid 20s.
Yep.
Where was I going with this? So yeah, is it really to say now and not 2015? Because if you think about it, like influence culture has been around for quite some time. It doesn't feel like any of the jokes that they're making right now, the references that they're doing right now, couldn't have been made kind of in the past, even if it wasn't the exact ones.
I mean, maybe around that time frame. Like they do mention TikTok, or at least TikTok is what like a video that people post on, and I do feel like influencer culture has only grown since then. So I wouldn't say
it hasn't gone away by any.
Yeah, this isn't like an archaic TV show where you hear the references and you cringe.
But it does feel like it's kind of following the same trademarks as other shows like Entourage in Atlanta, where the main character is a type A personality, whether you have Earn or you have E in Entourage, and they have this best friend who just seems like everything goes their way. They don't need to, they might be very talented, but they don't really need to try very hard to get things to just fall in place.
I think the show goes out of its
become
way to show that Tallulah isn't really talented. She just takes good pictures. Like it's definitely not embracing influencers and showing them to be like these great people.
Right, but her personality is such that she is very popular. It also reminds me a little bit when we did the Resurrected show. Is that the name of it? The Thai series that we did recently.
Yeah.
Where like one of the daughters, this is a dark show, so like there were two daughters, and one of them is killed and the other one like ends up in a coma, but the one that's in the coma was an influencer as well and tried to get the other daughter to come out and hang out with her because all they need to do is post stuff online and they get money for that.
I think the only difference is that Tallulah in the first episode arrives and Maia doesn't want her to be there.
Yeah, Maia's already got a job. She's trying to do other things with her life still in LA.
Even Charlie and Alani are telling her that she should just like unfollow Tallulah on Instagram because like they're saying that she should just distance herself from her as much as possible.
Tallulah represents chaos. If every character, so let's just quickly go through them. So Maia is not entirely grounded, so she's susceptible to her friends. So how would you describe her? Just a mess or what?
I don't know. I think that again, she has the clearest goal. She wants to become like a talent manager and she wants to be the best at it. She even asked Leighton Meester, the manager, at the beginning of the episode to do that. So I think that she has like a good head on her shoulders, but she's also just
in a way, it's like Loudermilk too, where there was that guy who was getting promoted through the job and he was trying to work through the company, but then he gets confused as an addict, and so then the other guy like really screws up his career by like kidnapping him. Tallulah is definitely taking her in different directions.
Yes, Tallulah is the craziness that you kind of talked about, like making her go out to like bars and stuff like that.
But the ceiling is super high. This is like a Jerry Maguire situation where if you hitch your tent to that person and that person does take off and become big, the next Kylie Jenner or whatever, then you have made bank.
And that's why the first episode ends with them agreeing to work together. Tallulah gets to stay in LA, but Maia she's going to help Maia get a promotion. Tallulah reminded me a little bit of Mixie from Sunny, if you remember that TV series, because Mixie was just like supposed to be kind of as just crazy person.
Completely off social media though. Right. So in that way, very different. But so I found it funny though that originally they were even going to have more, I think, of the influencer. Like, I think her boyfriend was also going to be an influencer,
Dylan
too.
Was going to,
yeah, and so they had Miles Robbins play the character in the pilot, and then they rewrote it for Josh Hutcherson. Miles Robbins would have also been a Nepo baby. He's Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon's kid.
That's why he sounds familiar. Okay.
And then you had Odessa A'zion, who is Pamela Adlon's kid. So, like, there is a lot of people with parents who like have ties to the business.
I was wondering because especially now, I have respect for Rachel Sennott, but how she was able to get the cast that she was able to do, and then she's also like executively producing this series, right?
Yeah.
One thing that
So like after she did Bottoms, I think like the kind of opportunity opened up, and this is coming out at the same time that The Chair Company and It are running on Sundays. So
I think the difference between that is that this is a very lighthearted show. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's not as erratic as something like What We Do in the Shadows, but any series that starts off with a couple, Maia and Dylan in this case, having sex and then an earthquake happens, but Maia doesn't want to stop because she thinks that it's going to give her a bigger climax. Obviously, it's not taking itself too seriously. I think the show is all the better for that.
Right. Also, though, like I feel like it could be funnier with the satire because it does sound like they're kind of limiting themselves. With Search Party, the other two, like those ones did not take a step back. In fact, the Firstman guy was in, or I think he wrote for Search Party as well. So like I feel like this has been done in a more drastic way before, and this is kind of taking in the safe route.
It's playing it safe. That is true. I was going through my pros though. That's the reason why I was saying good things about it. It's also short, 30 minutes. I think it's only supposed to be 8 episodes. And
did you like the second and third episode more than the first? Because some reviewers have said that.
It's the second and third episode are kind of like a part 1 and part 2, because it starts off with Maia and Tallulah. They're at a coffee shop and they're talking about what they're going to do to kind of help Tallulah's image, and then Paulina, that is supposed to be the villain for episode 2 and 3, shows up. And I guess the connection is that Tallulah stole a Balenciaga bag.
Is it confirmed she stole it?
Yeah, I think so.
They're like $3,000 bags or something.
Yeah, no, and again, it's supposed to show kind of like the egotism, I think, of Hollywood.
She didn't do it because she needed the money. Like, she didn't sell it to resell. She just did it to kind of like spite this other person.
I don't know, because again, we learned in the first episode that Tallulah was broke. But this was just something that, she stole Paulina, ends up taking the bag back, and then because Tallulah is afraid that Paulina might throw charges at her, to avoid charges, she invites, unbeknownst to Maia until that night, Paulina to a dinner. And then Paulina, she's acting crazy. She's forcing everyone to do drugs. She's acting awfully, and only leaves when Maia and Tallulah act crazy. Like they pull a ruse where Maia is mad that Dylan is looking at her tits, Paulina's tits.
And so Dylan also like plays into it, right?
Right, yeah. And you can see that he doesn't want to, but he obviously cares about his girlfriend.
That's the Search Party aspect to me. Like I can see that from Shawkat and her boyfriend in like the first season, that dynamic that they had.
He's definitely the heart of the show. But when Paulina, she leaves, but she actually has a moment of goodness, I guess, at the end of the episode, and she's going to leave the bag for Tallulah, because Tallulah, as this whole entire freak out was going on, was like, "Don't leave me, you're my one friend." And Paulina ended up leaving because she knew she would. But she ends up, she's about to leave the bag for Tallulah at the doorway, but she hears them laughing about it inside, realizing it was a ruse, and that's where the cliffhanger comes in, because
to get her away.
Yeah, she immediately gets in the Uber and starts exposing Tallulah.
Now, was this an Uber that was self-driving, or is there a person?
No, you see the person there. In fact, she even.
So this is what I'm talking about. This could have been 15 years ago. This could have been 10
been
years
a Waymo?
ago. Yes, a Waymo would have dated it as of 2024, 2025. Yeah.
And the third episode is just Tallulah's reputation implodes after Paulina posts the viral video, because it spreads like wildfire. And then Maia is told by her company that Tallulah...
Isn't every publicity like good publicity, though?
Well, this is actually when Maia's talking to the fixer, who is again played by Josh Brenner, and he's saying she should just apologize. And I actually did like the way that they explained it, because it was played for laughs, but they were like, depending on what kind of apology it is, if it's like anti-Semitism, you like apologize right away.
When did the Logan Paul shit go down? Like when he...
The Suicide Forest?
Yes.
Yeah, that was, I think, 2017.
So 10 years ago.
Right.
So again, as is kind of the same subject matter that you would see like cancellation. And I understand your point, because you're like, it still exists today. It would be one thing if that was like old news. But I'm just saying, like, when they talk about how this is really a Gen Z problem, it feels like it's existed for quite some time.
To me, the references seemed like they were updated, but I get what you're saying. This really did start in 2015. But yeah, then Maia is like, no, fuck that. We're not going to have her apologize. She's actually going to give an expose to Paulina. And then Tallulah ends up posting this very sarcastic video where they expose Paulina. It didn't really work for me because I know that whenever people give like a sarcastic video after they've been exposed, I think of like Colleen Ballinger with the ukulele apology or Logan Paul with his apology.
She was accused of like actual terrible shit. Well, this person's just been accused of stealing.
Right, and I know that this is just a TV show, but I'm saying whenever like people try to do that, it doesn't really work. And in the TV show, it acted like the problem had kind of went away. Yeah, Tallulah loses like a shampoo brand that she was going to be working for at the very end, but that it seemed to like actually
that was the only
work.
Consequence.
Right, and I was just like, usually people get very, very like mad about that.
Maybe people have thicker skin now. Maybe that's the point. Is in the past, maybe there would have been a whole onslaught of advertisers pulling out. But right now, maybe she's too small of a figure to really have it impact her career. She doesn't sing, right?
No.
Do we see her with a boyfriend at all, Tallulah?
No, well, we do see her having phone sex. That's part of the reason she's masturbating.
Yeah, and do you see Maia and her relationship as one that's lasting, like throughout the series, or do you think that
it's trying to make it like that, especially by the end of the episode?
Do you think that will come at the risk of her losing her boyfriend, Maia losing her boyfriend?
I hope not, because I like Josh Hutcherson a lot in this role. I think he's definitely a saving grace for the TV show. Also, what happened with Charlie, just to talk about really fast because we brought it up earlier, Mimi, who again is played by Ayo Edebiri, he was kind of talking to her at the beginning, and he ended up coming up with a story because she was going to have Zendaya in a video. And I think Charlie was just kind of freaking out about that, where he made it sound like Zendaya is a nightmare to work with. So for the whole entire...
No, I have no idea.
For the whole entire second episode, he's trying to find like fabricated stories, and Mimi ends up like firing him in the second episode when she learns that it was fake. But she's not supposed to be a likable character either. It's weird, though, because the character's goals seem kind of murky. Maia's is the clearest. She wants a promotion. Fine. But Tallulah, I thought it was a little bit of a stretch that she was going to stay in LA, but I guess she's trying to get back on her feet. Alani being the VP of a company that doesn't like her, I didn't really see where her story's supposed to go. Dylan, aside from him just being a teacher, it doesn't seem like he has any like goal at all.
I think that's kind of the point, is that in your 20s, in mid-20s, you're kind of aimless, or you can spend years where it's just like, well, what exactly am I doing with my life? And that together they're going to formulate. It's, again, the classic Friends motif, where they're just going to, by the time they hit 30, hopefully that they'll have more of their act together.
But Charlie, like, he's just trying to find a man to be with. In the whole third episode, he takes Tallulah out to like a restaurant and he starts hitting on a waiter, only to realize that waiter later on is like actually married, and he realizes he just like tipped them way too much money because he was trying to get with them.
Where does Leighton Meester fall into play? Like, was she in the third episode at all?
She's in the third episode when she's talking to Maia about apologizing.
It seems like she's been very busy. Nobody Wants This,
Good Cop, Bad Cop,
Buccaneers. Yeah. Now I Love LA.
I was surprised to see her in the show. Again, it's funny because she's supposed to be playing kind of that A-list role, even though she doesn't, I think, fully fit that. Also, it just, when it comes to the characters and even the location, I didn't feel necessarily like this had to be LA. It felt like it could have been any big place like New York or Florida even, or something like that.
Yeah. Are we talking about reviews at this point?
Yeah.
What would you give it?
I will give it a 4.5 out of 10. There is good stuff in the show, but I think that there's a lot of just long moments where it's just a lot of cringe jokes that don't work.
Did you recognize Randy Newman's song in the first episode, the I Love LA song?
I don't think I did, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got a very distinct voice. Yeah, also, it was funny you brought up Bo Burnham earlier, because his ex-girlfriend, who's like significantly older than him, who did the pilot's directing for the first episode, and in ChatGPT, when I was just checking my notes, it gave me the falsest fact. It was like, and Bo Burnham shows up with his wife, mind you, not his ex-girlfriend, but his wife, in an episode cameo. And I was just like flummoxed as to how it got to that. And
it was made 2 years ago. They filmed this.
Yeah, but even then, it's not his wife. Mixed response as far as IMDb is concerned. You have a 5.8 and 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, 47% audience score, 64 on Metacritic. So if it's going to get there, if it's going to get that audience that it wants, numbers have been fine. But like as far as people who aren't hate watching it, then it's going to have to, I think, improve a bit. Also, it kind of reminds me a little bit, last references of the Better Sister, because that was about a murder and stuff like that. But it kind of goes into the relationship of like the problem showing up at your doorstep that also used to be like one of your closest ties, and like how they are going to end up working together.
It's definitely, I think, Maia, like her friendship with Charlie and Alani and probably Tallulah by the end is definitely more like brother sister than anything. They're supposed to be very close.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.